Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to the Adventures Travel Club television show, and we find ourselves in Jerusalem. Well, actually, we're in Jerusalem,
Sure.
and we're outside the old city, as you can see there, because those are the walls of the old city on our right-hand side. And this is probably one of the most traveled streets there in Jerusalem. But Betty, you know, since I'd been there last, all of these stalls outside here, those were never there before when I was there.
Yeah, well, you know, everybody gets into the act of trade fairs and selling stuff, and so it's not any exception now here in Jerusalem. It's been there for several years, the little stores.
Because usually, I know before when we're heading toward, and what we are going to show in just a moment is the Damascus Gate, which is probably the gate that most people do recognize when they see pictures of the old city of Jerusalem. And that area there, I mean, you talk about crowded.
But
Whoa.
see, but Marv, they take them down. They're not
What,
up.
these booths?
The booths. These are not permanent things, and these are for the local people, not for tourist people. So,
Well, you know, I found that shopping in the old city really isn't for. I mean, yeah, there are some shops that sell touristy things, but I mean, you go in there, you can buy housewares, kitchenwares, clothing. I mean, all sorts of
well,
things.
they have to eat and they have to cook, and there's no big stores like we have today. So this is a convenience for them. There's dresses, shoes, whatever.
Everything.
It's not really something that we would be.
Well, you have to
buying.
remember that you also have a lot of people that still live in the old city, and so this is very convenient for them. But then there are a lot of people that come here to do their shopping too, and I think it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to go in the shop. When I go into some of these shops here, we are at the Damascus Gate, and I'll tell you, one time I was in there, and thank goodness I was over 6 feet tall. Whew. I'll tell you, it was so crowded, but I was about a head above everybody.
Else. Well, there's a nice thing here that we like Damascus Gate that we're just looking at. Our hotel is right up the street from Damascus Gate, so we can come out of our hotel on our own, cross the street, and walk down there and go into the gate just by ourselves
Really, it's so
anytime.
nice, yes.
It's so convenient. No taxis, no waiting around. It's a
very convenient.
magnificent place to
Very,
be.
very
Yes,
convenient.
we were so blessed.
And of course, you can see now here that these walls, which were built so many centuries ago, are still standing. And if you know where and how, you can actually get up on top and you can walk around.
Did you ever do that?
No, I didn't.
You know, as many times as I've been there, I have never done it. And I don't know why. I just think there's so many other things that we do during the day that by the time night comes out, oh, the heck with it.
One time, though, I want to do that, but I want to do it during the daytime if I can. That was
I
Herod's
hope so.
Gate that we just saw.
Okay.
And we're going to continue on. We're going to go around. We're heading in an easterly
Are we going
direction
to
right
Stephen's
now.
Gate? Or is
St. Stephen's Gate?
Is that?
You know what? What I found out, Betty, I was doing a little more research, and several of these gates have two names.
Okay.
They have more than one name, so they've been named a couple of times.
Well,
Now-
we're over there by Dungate.
Yeah,
Isn't that
right.
great?
Right now, though, we are going by the Muslim cemetery, which is just outside of the walls of the old city, and I have a couple of friends that are buried in this particular place here, and I had the opportunity to visit that on this last trip. But now we're going over to Bethany, which is just right on the outskirts of Jerusalem, and we're going to go to the place where Jesus commanded Lazarus to come forth from the tomb.
This were his good friends, Mary and
Martha.
Martha and Lazarus, yes.
This was the entrance to the tomb at one time. However, that is not the entrance any longer. But we are going to show it to you in just a little bit. Inside of the church here, there's a beautiful, well, there are actually several mosaics that are on the walls here. And of course, we find that so much throughout the Holy Land, that mosaics were used and are still being used so much, and they are just absolutely beautiful.
Thanks be to God. They stay for a long time.
They do
with
stay
the
for a long
mosaics.
time.
Yes,
That's right.
Yes.
And you see that beauty and that color just radiates from these beautiful mosaics. And a lot of times there's not an awful lot of light in some of these churches, so the reflectivity off of these mosaics
I love that word.
bring
The
it
what?
to life.
The what?
Reflectivity.
Oh my goodness, we're
That's my-
even
that's
make
my
up new words as we
two-bit
go
word
along,
for today, huh?
Oh
Yeah.
my word.
Anyway.
I'm going to look that up in the dictionary
It
after
may not
we
be
get
there,
through.
I
huh?
don't know. But anyway, here we can see Jesus commanding Lazarus to come forth from the
You
tomb.
know, it's kind of scary, isn't it? You know, when you see that, how the mummified, how with all the way they're wrapped up like that. But Marv, I do believe that these have all been freshened for the millennium.
You mean the mosaics?
The colors,
Well,
yes.
might have been.
Cleaned, and yes.
There's some more here in the dome inside of
Well,
this
it'd be
particular
kind of hard
church,
to do it
too.
there, wouldn't it? But
I think it would be, anyway.
but I do feel that they were refreshed.
One little bit of advertising here. Don't miss the visit to Lazarus' tomb. And, of course, we have some people now that have just been down there. And this is not, if you're going to go, make sure you wear some pretty good shoes. I tell you, this is not the greatest idea for everybody to go down. These steps,
come on.
No, it's not. The steps are very slippery. And there is a handrail there, but it's rather steep, right? But I mean, you can do it, but you have to you've got to be careful. Because it's wet down there. It's almost like a site of a well, almost. There's water down in the bottom of it. And I don't think Lazarus came out this way. I think he came out the other entrance.
You don't think he walked out the step? Well, you know that this wasn't the entrance.
No, that's it.
It's all
We saw
been
the other
boarded
entrance,
over.
right, yeah.
They bury more than one body in these tombs. It couldn't have been just Lazarus's.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
Well, Lazarus made history, but there are others.
Well, he was the only one that came out.
I know. So he's a unique person. But this part of the trip for me was always really, I don't know. I get a big thrill out of this because the story of Lazarus coming out of the tomb when Jesus went there and said, don't worry, and you read the preamble about, if you had been here, our brother wouldn't have died.
Right, yeah.
And then to know that Jesus brought him back to life
Right.
and we read that
resurrection.
in always in the Gospels. We read this. It's wonderful.
We wanted to show you too. You just saw that there's a mosque right across the street from the church here, and it's just one of the areas where people are living in wonderful harmony. Now we're going to go to the house of one of our hosts, and this is Gabriel Cohen.
Well, I have to thank His Eminence the Bishop, other priests.
Yes, right there. His brothers.
His brothers.
Brothers.
Yeah. For hosting this tour and being the spiritual leader of this tour. And also to say to General Lee, thank you for coming with you to this part of the world where she has been so many times. I don't want to mention the number of days, a number of trips she made this part of the world, and I know how much she loved this land, and she's already entitled for full citizenship.
Well, as we saw, and as you said, Betty, Gabriel is the owner of Guiding Star Agency, which is the agency, of course, we use when going to the Holy Land. Gabriel is a very interesting character, and his wife here, who we see, is also an author, and she has written a book about not only Guiding Star Agency, but also about the time through history of how Gabriel was pretty important in some of the goings on there in Jerusalem.
Finding the stoles.
Is what?
The scrolls. He was instrumental. He, as a little tiny kid, he found a couple of this
himself.
Yes,
yeah.
he did.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
he did.
Well, he was an enterprising young man.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's now 5 o'clock the next morning, and we have decided to get up very early because we are going to do the Stations of the Cross. And you can say, yeah, but Marv, why did you do it at 5 o'clock in the morning? Well, very, very good reason for doing it at 5 o'clock in the morning. You just saw a few moments ago when we were outside of Damascus Gate how many hundreds and hundreds of people there were. And those people, of course, would be going through these streets, and some of the shops that we see now that are boarded up would be open. And it is so crowded, and I mean so crowded through these little streets that we're going through right now, come daylight. And there are not only people, but there are cars. And you say, wait a minute, you can't get a car through there.
Yes,
oh,
you
yes,
can.
you can. And there are push carts, and there are people trying to sell you things.
Kids on bicycles.
Right. I mean, it is, because this is one big marketplace. It really is.
But see, people live there too. If
Right,
you
yes.
see if you look at the doors on the side, or the little arches, like on the side, those are homes of people that live there. So the kids have to play in the street there. That's their playground.
Well, the thing is, it's an amazing place that has been there for so long, and it's wonderful. And I hope it never changes. I really hope it never changes. Anyway, 5 o'clock in the morning, because we wanted to do the 14 stations of the cross. And we're not even there yet. I mean, we're just walking to the place where we're going to actually pick up a cross.
This is a preamble.
When we were ambling along a little bit, right?
Preamble.
But isn't it beautiful, Betty?
Yes, it is.
I mean, it's so picturesque.
And to do it like this early in the morning, you're just barely awake, and yet you get the excitement is aroused in you because you know what you're about to participate in, and the wealth of what the whole part of it is inspiring.
And we're going to start here at the Church of the Flagellation, and we're actually outside the church.
I've asked my brother, Father Leo, to lead the Stations of the Cross. I'm offering all the masses. On page 6, we recite the opening prayer together. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God called us to be Christians in this world. This is our vocation, an extraordinary gift. But God wants us to be a guiding light for others, and to give ourselves for the salvation of everyone. The Christian vocation is a gift which we receive not for ourselves only, but for the sake of others. We shall understand this by walking with Jesus on the road to Calvary, the Lord of love, and life even entirely forever.
Well, there you can see, even at 5 o'clock in the morning, there was traffic. Some guy was on his motorcycle, and that's the tip of the iceberg. Because we were there later on in the day, we happened to come back through this way, being in the old city, and again, it was a situation where you just couldn't move.
And Marva, we should say here that this is a pilgrimage, and that is why we're doing these particular holy things. But for the people that don't care to get up that early, or they don't feel inclined to do this, there's no obligation on their part. They can,
Right.
they
That
can
is the
sleep
first
in.
station outside the Antonia. The arch is known as the Ecce Homo Arch, and inside are the Sisters of Zion, where they have part of the paved road known as the Lithostratus, where most likely our Lord walked back in those days. So we're going to do station number 2 right here.
Well, Betty, as you were stating, this is pretty much of a Catholic or Orthodox practice, doing the Stations of the Cross, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder when this actually originated, when people started doing this. I mean, after the crucifixion. I wonder if it happened soon after, or if it came maybe a century after, or what? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea. I'm sorry that you asked me that question. I would have liked to have had the answer, but I have an idea that it's something that slowly progressed. It maybe started with a couple of people, and then from there on, it took off.
But we see that now all the time, and of course, it's all during Holy Week is a time when so many pilgrims, of course, will come to Jerusalem, and that they will be there and do the way of the cross. This is the first time, though, I will have to say, Betty, this is the first time that I've been there when actually we had a cross to carry, because sometimes I've been there and we didn't have that at all. But you see pictures of it all the time. There are people actually carrying the cross.
Most of the time we have done it. There's been times that it just wasn't convenient, or something else came up that we weren't. We always did the stations, but we didn't necessarily carry the cross.
It's a little more dramatic, I think.
I
with,
think
with
it
having
is
the
too.
cross itself,
And the cross is furnished by what is usually the photographer that has it right there, because there's a photographer that runs around and takes our pictures.
He was there. He and I were running neck and neck. I mean,
competing with one another.
Well, we were trying to get ahead of
the amazing
people.
thing is, excuse me.
Yeah. Well, all I was going to say is, if you notice, now we are climbing all the time, because we're going up to Calvary. We're going up to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which was on a pretty much elevated. So this is, as you see, you're looking back down. It's not that I was standing on a bunch of steps, but I was. But those steps keep going up and up and up the hill. And one of the things I think that people should realize, that there's hardly anything in the Holy Land that's on level ground. Everything is up and down. I mean, it's rocky, and it is there's a lot of steps
You
to
watch
climb.
where you're going. That's
Right.
for sure. I was just going to say, Marv, that by the time that evening when we're back at our hotel, the photographer is there with the pictures that he's taken. So for those as they're carrying, it's a wonderful souvenir
it
to
is.
bring
No,
home.
that's very nice. Yeah, it is very nice. And again, doing this hour of the morning. Now you can see now the sun is starting to get up a little bit, but and there's the photographer right there. I didn't realize that he was the guy that supplied the cross.
Yeah, in some not all instances, but he is usually the one because
He wasn't a Roman
benefits-
soldier, right?
No, he
Okay.
benefits from it. You see, he's an entrepreneur.
Well, that's very good. And I'm sure that as soon as we got finished, there probably was another
Somebody
group right
else,
behind
right.
us, I would imagine. But-
Right.
and of course, now the station's located through the streets where we are going, and sometimes you'll just see a little
Plaque.
a little plaque, and that surprised me, Betty. The first time that we were there, I just thought it would be a little more.
You're like me, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm used to Disneyland and things
Yeah.
like that. I don't know, but but this is the real thing.
Yes,
This is the real thing, and it is. It can be very, very moving for a person that does this.
But you
I
know-
noticed, Betty. Excuse
excuse
me,
me.
just a moment. But I noticed that some of our pilgrims that were with us, while they're doing this, there were tears that were streaming down their eyes.
Yeah,
You know.
Yeah, it's well. When you go off like this on a pilgrimage, you go with the idea of you have a background for it in the first place, and you go with the idea of perhaps fulfilling something within you that has been wanting to be fulfilled all your life. And the thing with these trips, this is one of the real religious parts of it, but we're not all religious parts.
No,
This
this just-
happens to be a
True.
special treat for all of us that we're able to participate in it.
That's right. And we do usually go to the Holy Land at least once a year, and do a pilgrimage there. Now we are heading now. If you take a look, we are actually going to enter on top through the roof of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and we're going to go through this Coptic Orthodox church. Sort of looks like maybe little chapels. There's again one of the other stations right here. And you have to remember, before this church was built, this was a hill, and this was the place where the crucifixion actually took place. And so again, we are stopping here at this particular station before we go in. Now you can see we're right on one of the roofs, I should say, because this building, when you say the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, you should put that in the plural. There are many, many churches within this one particular
Yeah,
building.
look at this cute one. Oh, yes.
Yeah, and this again here, I hope that we're not disturbing them, but here are some of the Coptic people here that are praying, and we have to remember this was also a Sunday when we went through here. But again, and there were like two little chapels that were here, and I believe both of those were the Coptic chapels, and it was very, very interesting. And the Coptic folks are mainly from Egypt, where the Coptic Church is fairly large.
Ethiopia?
And Ethiopia too, I believe, yeah. Now we are outside from the roof. All of a sudden we get outside of the entrance to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is the main entrance. It's interesting. There's a church on one side over here to our right. Right across the courtyard is the Mosque of Omar. So again, we have very, very holy and religious sites here. Now we are inside the church. We're going to climb up these stairs and go up to the site where Jesus was there.
For the sake of the sequence of the stations and the events, station number 10 is through this window in a chapel, which is marking station number 10, where Jesus was stripped of his garments. Where you are standing, this is station number 11, and the mosaic on the wall commemorates that station where Jesus is nailed to the cross.
And this is a site here. This happens to be a Roman Catholic altar, as we see here. If you were to take just a few steps over to the left, you would be in the place where the Greek Orthodox altar is. And then there's a small altar right here in between. Now, area here is where we would celebrate Mass at the Roman Catholic altar right here. I have to say this because it's very true. Before I do this, so this you're looking now at the site where Jesus was crucified. If you look underneath this altar, and most of the people are going to get down there and reverence this, there you can put your hand in the hole there and feel the rock where the cross actually was there, and also, of course, then when the earthquake happened after the crucifixion, when the rock actually split. And you can go down 3 levels, and you can see that rock.
Reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus said to the crowd, "Now is judgment come upon this world. Now will this world's prince be driven out. And I, once I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all men to myself." This statement of his indicated the sort of death he was going to die. The crowd objected to his words. "We have heard it said in the law that the Messiah is to remain forever. How can you claim that the Son of Man must be lifted up? Just who is this Son of Man?" Jesus answered, "The light is among you only a little longer. Walk while you still have it, or darkness will come over you. The man who walks in the dark does not know where he is going. While you have the light, keep faith in the light. Thus you will become sons of light." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus
Betty,
Christ.
as I was going to say, because there are so many churches within this church, it's a little territorial inside. I know Bishop happened to step over in the Greek Orthodox area, and the sacristan said, no, over there. You belong over there with the where the Catholic altar is. So, excuse me. Here you can see one of the pilgrims there at the Greek Orthodox altar. And now we are downstairs. We are going to be at the place where Jesus' body was laid and where he was anointed, of course, after he was taken down from the cross. Within this church, or churches, you find the Armenian Church, the Coptic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, and of course the Greek Orthodox Church. Anybody out?
Are the Franciscans there? They come in when we had the royal entrance the last time. The Franciscans were very prevalent.
Franciscans are kind of the keepers of the Holy Land.
That's
You know,
what-
they do keep a
uh-huh.
lot of at least the Catholic areas there. Now, the camera works a little jerky here, but I wanted to show our viewers the rock here where Jesus' body was anointed, and also some of the architecture. Now, this is right inside the door, right? I mean, just
As
just
you
a few
walk
steps
in.
as you
Uh-huh.
walk in, right? And the tomb is going to be located around the corner, and we'll see that in our next show that we have. And while we were here, it was very interesting. And you know, you're up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And say, "Oh my gosh, I forgot it was Sunday, wasn't it?" And we just had celebrated Mass, which was wonderful. And the other denominations that are located within the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, of course, we're celebrating Mass too. There are many altars here for these various denominations, and of course, the Masses were going on, you know, continually all day. But the interesting thing was, while we were there, and of course you can hear in the background some of the church bells that are ringing, is that the Greek Orthodox Patriarch came to celebrate their liturgy, and their church is right behind that wall that you see here. And Betty, this is the first time, and we'll see it in our next episode. This is the first time that the doors were even open that I ever got a chance to take a look at that. But that church opens up directly opposite the tomb of Jesus. And it's really quite impressive because there is a bigger Catholic area, a bigger church, I guess I should say, inside this church, which is located just on the other side of that.
I love going in there and looking through. You can
Beautiful.
see, yeah, you really can. Marv, this to me was one of the truly holy places for us, especially the slab that Jesus' body was laid down on after he was taken down from the cross. This is where the women anointed his body. They washed it. They wrapped it for burial. And it's just, it has a lot of pathos, a lot of, sadness almost connected with it.
Well, it does. And if you look straight ahead now, you're going to see part of the Armenian church there, which would be off to the left. But this was is beautiful. That mosaic hasn't been up too many years either. I think the one that was there on the back. But again, as we were talking about, we see so many beautiful mosaics here in the Holy Land. There's some writing there just below that slab, but I cannot tell you what language that is in. I didn't get a good enough shot of that, but I'm sure that it said this is the slab where Jesus' body was anointed. And you can see the various architecture. Oh, here he comes now. This I believe
Talk
is
about
either
ceremony,
the
huh?
Archbishop
Wow.
or the patriarch, Greek patriarch. And you can see he's being announced in with these walking sticks, and of course the bells are really pealing right now, and it's very interesting too, because you just mentioned the stone here, and of course, what does he do first when he comes in? He reverences also this stone, and of course, you can see there was a pillow and a rug that was put out for His Eminence right there, very, very quickly.
I'm so sorry we didn't do that for our bishop. Bishop, come again, and we'll try with
the bishop did make note of that. But this
jokingly.
Yes, of course. And but this again, remember, it was Sunday morning, very, very early, and the Greek Orthodox were having their morning prayers, which we're going to start in just a few moments. But this was impressive, and it was impressive to see that. Well, Betty, we're going to continue in our next episode, finishing the Stations of the Cross, and we're going to also go in and see the beautiful new dome that Corky Normart of Fresno designed. But it's just about time for us to say goodbye. This trip is going to be repeated again?
Yes, we are. We're going to go again in the spring of 2006, and we invite you to join us. Give me a call.
So if you're interested in going with us the next trip, which would be exactly the same thing as you've been seeing here on this show and the preceding shows that we have, just give Betty a call, and Betty would be happy to give you information.
I was going to say at 488-7443. You weren't going to let me put in my phone number?
Oh, no. I'd be happy to.
That was coming
but
later,
you didn't
huh?
give the area code. I mean,
Oh.
you got to do that too, you know.
Oh, well, that's 559, I think. Most of our, well, I think, although I do have sometimes people from out of state that go with us, but they don't have to call me. They have relatives that tell them about it. So that's how we find out about these people.
Oh, that's great. Well, we want to thank you so very much for being with us on this adventure. And I think that you're going to find the next adventure very exciting, too, as we continue on here within the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Betty, how about the phone number?
Once again, I'd be
time.
delighted.
Okay.
It's 488-7443.
And we'll see you next time. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.